Hello, budget bakers. We are back in the kitchen today with another budget-friendly yet delicious recipe. So today we are going to be preparing a cookie cake, a chocolate chip cookie cake. And we are using a 12-inch round pizza pan to make our cookie cake. So before we get started, I always like to tell everybody how much it costs to make the recipe. This way you know before you get started that it is an economical and budget-friendly recipe. Okay, so to make the cookie cake itself, it's approximately $3.50, give or take. And then we are going to add an icing at the end and some sprinkles. So just to be on the safe side, let's add on another $1 for that. Although I suspect it's less, but better be safe than sorry. So let's say for the entire cookie cake from start to finish, it's about $4.50 to make. And in my book, that is economical. That is budget friendly, right? Okay, so let's get going. This is super easy, but it is one of the best chocolate chip cookie cakes I have ever made. And I did not wear my apron today because I wanted you to see, yes, I'm cold. Me, 24/7. I actually wore this out today and a lady in passing was like, "That's me." And I was like, story of my life. So here we are. It's a nice, brisk, full day and it's the perfect day to be inside baking. Now I am making this cookie cake for a purpose, although you guys are always my purpose, but I have an event coming up at work in the office tomorrow, and we're having a chili cook-off and a kind of dessert cook-off, so to say. So I am making this chocolate chip cookie cake for that. So we won't have any taste testing, testers today. So the video will be a little different at the ending, but let's get started, right? Let's just get started. Okay, so what we're gonna do to start is I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees because you know I like my oven waiting on me. I don't like to wait for it. And I've lined my pan with non-stick foil, not just regular foil, but non-stick foil, okay? Because it works beautifully with this cookie cake. It doesn't stick at all, and I can just take the foil out of the pan and slide the cookie cake off, boom, done. Okay, so we've preheated the oven, we've lined the pan. Now we are going to cream our butter and sugar. So we're using a half a cup of butter, salted butter, room temperature. So I am going to go ahead and put that into my mixer. And then we are going to add our sugars to that and we're going to cream it. Now, you know I always have, well usually, always have my little garbage bag here so I don't have to keep walking over there to throw things away. All right, so we've got a half a cup of butter, like I said, salted butter in there, and then we're gonna add sugars, 2 different sugars. So we've got a half a cup of regular granulated sugar and a 1/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar right here. So we're gonna get that going, get some air in there. I like to start my butter first, and then when it's no longer like in a log, that's when I like to add my sugar. You might be thinking, why, Deanna? I don't know. That's just how I do it. All right, now we're gonna add the sugar. And I went ahead and got everything prepared, all my ingredients. And these cheap little paper plates are really great for this because you can just fold it and pour it right in. No mess. Look at that. Boom. All right, so it usually takes approximately 5 minutes to cream your butter and your sugar. I'm gonna turn that up a little bit, so I'll yell at you even louder. And then once it turns like that light yellow color, you know it's done. Now the brown sugar, you know, is a little darker, but you can still see the change of color if you keep an eye on it. All right, so we're gonna let that do its thing. And then after the butter and the sugar cream, we are going to add 1 egg and 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. So what I did is I never crack my eggs into my desserts. I always crack them into a separate cup. So I did that. I've cracked my egg and I've actually added the vanilla to the egg so I can just pour them in at the same time. This is looking really good. and it's almost good to go, almost ready. Like I said, you want it to kind of have a light color and you want it to look a little on the fluffier side. So it's looking really good. So like I said, we're going to add our egg and vanilla, and then after that we're going to add our flour, baking soda, and salt, which I already have separate here in another dish. So that is 1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, in addition, you might be thinking, okay, Deanna, what is that on top? That's cinnamon. So I add another 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon because I always like to add cinnamon to my chocolate chip cookies. It just adds a little extra zip and it's very flavorful. Oh, this is great. We're good here. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit so we don't make a mess, and I'm going to add my egg and my vanilla. And we're going to let that go for a couple of minutes just to incorporate it. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients. And this recipe actually calls for 1 cup of chocolate chips. And if you've watched my past videos, you've probably heard me say this, but I like to mix my chocolate chips. So I like to mix my milk chocolate and my semi-sweet chocolate chips in my canister that I keep above the fridge. So I pretty much use mixed chips for everything I make. Now, if I have a recipe that is absolutely specific and you have to use one or the other, trust me, I've got plenty of bags in the pantry of one or the other. Okay, this looks great. I am going to just grab spatula really quick. Let me turn this. Oh, it got it. Haha, I didn't even need it. All right, well, I don't need it. There was like a hunk stuck on the side. I was going to push it down. All right, so we're going to turn this down to low, and we are going to add our dry ingredients while it's on low. Just kind of slowly drizzle them in. And this mixture is going to be very thick, and that's okay. That's normal. That's how it should be. All right, so let's get this combined. There it goes. You hear it? Yeah. Oh, that looks good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to add my chocolate chips. I'm going to turn it back on just until they are incorporated because we don't want to overbeat the dough. I'm going to sprinkle them on in there. Don't struggle on me today, mixer. It's a very thick dough. All right, that looks good. Now, since we didn't use the spatula, I'm going to put it away because I like to use like wooden utensils for this because it's, like I said, 3 times already. It's very thick. Okay, let's open it up. Scrape this down. Now, over the years of making this recipe, I've learned to just add a cup of chocolate chips because originally I was using 1/2 cup and it just wasn't enough. Like if you're gonna have a chocolate chip cookie cake, you need chocolate chips in every bite. So the 1 cup does the trick. And those are regular size chips, not the minis. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of scrape all of this down to the middle. Because you guys know Deanna doesn't waste. Okay, so that's great. So we've kind of got a ball down into the middle. And now I'm just going to spoon it right into the center of this pan. Now I did have to use 2 pieces of foil to cover the pan. Like I said, it's a 12-inch pan. And 1 piece just doesn't do the trick. So you need 2 pieces of foil. And like I said, non-stick, the no-stick variety, not regular. All right. So I'm going to wash my hands up really quickly because I use my hands to press this dough into the pan. Sometimes if it comes out a little on the extra sticky side, I'll spray my hands with cooking spray to press it down. But I'm using cold water here And the colder your hands are, the easier it'll be to press it down. So you might have to like stick your hands under cold water a couple of times. And you know what else I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take off these rings really quick because nobody likes cookie dough in their jewelry or jewelry in their cookie dough, either way. All right, so we're just gonna press this down. Now, you want it to fill the pan, obviously, but you do not have to go edge to edge, so to say, because since we added the baking soda to this recipe, it's gonna swell up a little bit. And when it does, it bakes out to the edges of the pan. Now this is sticking to my hand a lot. And you know what? It is rainy today. And so the extra moisture is definitely making its way into my cookie batter, but that's okay. It's okay. This bakes at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes, just depending on the oven. I always recommend checking your baked goods at the minimum amount of bake time and then just adding on if necessary. We're almost done here, believe it or not, even though it's sticking to me. Because like I said, you want to push it out. I'll show you. I'll get close and show you that it doesn't go all the way to the edges of the pan. And then you'll see after it bakes, it does. So again, little trick that I've learned over the years because I have made this recipe countless times and it's delicious. Always delish. All right, there we go. I'm gonna rinse my hands off real quick before I show this to you because they feel disgusting. That's probably not something I should say on camera. See, my problem is I don't like to have dirty hands. So it's difficult for me to make things like this and to make bread and like my cinnamon rolls and stuff like that because it's inevitable. Your hands are gonna get dirty. And it's cool, like I get it. But anyway, that's why I'm washing up. Okay, so let me show this to you. You see that? See how it doesn't go quite to the edges? Now remember that for later. All right, I'm gonna pop this in my oven. Like I said, 15 to 20 minutes. Typically in my oven, it's more toward the 20-minute mark, but I'll check it at 18 and see if I need to leave it for a couple more minutes. So let me go put this in the oven and then I will come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. So I wound up baking my cookie cake for 22 minutes because for whatever reason, that's how long it took today. So here we have it. As you can see, I've undone the foil from around the sides of the pan, and I am just going to right now slip the cookie cake out of the pan. Now, it's been sitting here for probably about 10 minutes, so it's a little warm to the touch, but it's no longer hot. So this is what we're gonna do. Boom, slipped it right out of the pan. Now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let it cool for a few more minutes, just like this, and then I'll show you how to transfer it over to our serving tray. All right, so this has had a chance to cool. So I actually have all my ingredients here for the icing, but before we get to that, we are going to take the cookie cake and put it on this serving tray. All right, so there's different ways we can do this, but you know, I'm all about making things as easy as possible. So let's try and loosen it up a little bit. Here we go. From the foil. And at this point, I mean, we should be able to just lift it out and over. So let's see how that works. I also have these other things. Actually, maybe I'll get those out so I can show them to you. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. Hold on one second. So I have these. And you actually can put them underneath and then lift. So let's roll with that, because what happened is when I had the cookie cake in the oven and I went to move it when it was hot, I cracked it. but you won't see it. You won't see it once I get the icing on. Actually, you really can't even see it now because I pushed it back together. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for everyone, and I think I'm making it a little harder on myself, but it's okay. All right, here we go. See? And it's nice and round because it baked to the outside just like I said it would. Boom. Done. Ta-da! A round cookie cake. Okay. So I'm going to pop these in the sink, throw this away, and now we're going to make our icing or a drizzle. You can either drizzle it with this icing or you can coat it. I like to coat it. We like a lot of icing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 cup of powdered sugar. One full cup, heaping cup actually. Let it heap over. All right. 1 cup. I'm going to grab a little spoon because what we're going to do is we are going to color it orange because it's Halloween time here and it's fall. So we're going to color it orange and then we're going to use chocolate sprinkles to make it look Halloween-y, if that's a word. Okay, I'm actually going to use a little bit of water for this. I'll show you, it's probably just a couple of tablespoons total, but I'll show you the consistency before we put it on the cookie cake. Basically, you just want it wet and spreadable. So I just keep adding a little dab of water to it. You can also add a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of pumpkin pie spice if you want to spice it up. I'm going to add just a little touch of vanilla to this. One more. I'm going to add a little touch of vanilla. Although any particular flavor that you like. And I just mean like a couple of drops. That's it. And this happens to be clear vanilla. Okay. Okay, we got that. I think I want it just a touch more water. Because I want to make sure, see that? That's good. That's good. Perfect. I'll do it a little closer for you. That's the consistency you want. See it running off? Perfect. All right, that's good. Now what I like to do is I have these little paring knives that I really don't use for anything. So I like to use them for my gel food coloring. So this is copper because it's the closest color that I have to orange. And when mixed with the white, I'm just going to dip the top of the knife in there. And then the copper mixed with the white will give us a little bit of orange. And you really only need a dab of this stuff. A little goes a long way. So you turn it. Just want to make sure you mix it really good. And the thing about this is it doesn't have to be like perfect on the cake. Does that make sense? You know, we want it to cover, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all I'm saying, because we're going to put sprinkles on top. I call them jimmies or sprinkles, whatever comes out. But, so you might hear me refer to them as different things. Just want to make sure it's mixed. And see what a pretty Halloween orange that is? I like it. Okay. So I'm just going to pour it on. And then I'm just going to spread it on with my spoon. And I am trying to scrape it as clean as I can get it. Perfect. And then the key is, and you probably already know this, but I'm going to share it anyway. You want to get the sprinkles on there before it dries. So I typically will spread it with just a little bit of space, like not to the complete edge, because it does spread a little bit once it's on there. Did you hear what I said? I don't know. I was kind of talking quiet. I said I don't spread it completely to the edges because it spreads a little bit once you spread it on there. I thought I was just like talking to somebody who's sitting right here. All right. So I'm just gonna make sure I can get it as close to the edge and even as possible. And you know, you can do any color. You know, if you're making one of these for the holidays, you can do holiday colors, whatever holiday you celebrate. You can do birthdays with colored sprinkles, just whatever you like. Like I said, I'm going with the orange with chocolate sprinkles just to make it a little Halloweenish. All right, that looks good. Get a little closer to the edge over here. I tell you what, being in the kitchen and baking is just my happy place, just in case you didn't know this. I just love being here, and I love doing this, and I love sharing what I know with other people. Like, I love sharing my recipes and my little tidbits of knowledge that I've typically gained from making mistakes. All right. So what I like to do is I like to pour the sprinkles in the lid so I don't have to put my hands in the container. And then I'll just start sprinkling them on. You can use mini chocolate chips also if you don't have sprinkles. You can get creative and use whatever you like here. All right. I like to load it up, so I'm going to keep going with my sprinkles. I'm going to use the whole capful. Look at that. So pretty. Lovely. All right. So here we have it, friends. We have a 12-inch cookie cake with icing and sprinkles. Enjoy.